Oh, before I begin, let me take a few moments to share a couple of things. First and foremost, what I'd like to share is I want to thank everybody who has subscribed to my channel recently. I do appreciate it. And I'm also going to share some of my favorite photographs. 2, 3, 4. I haven't done scanned yet, but yesterday was in Prescott, Arizona. It was Earth Day, celebrated down there. They had closed off one of the streets, Cortez, in front of our courthouse there. And there were activities and folks downtown that I went down there and burned up a roll of film. It was Kodak Tri-X 400, and I used my Leica M6 for the occasion. So what I'd like to do is take a couple of minutes and share my favorite photographs. It's not going to be the full 36 exposure, probably 2 or 3 right now. As I said, I'm not done scanning. So let's take a few moments, share those photographs with you. All right. Today, what I want to talk to you about today, we're going to have some fun. Last episode, I talked to you about my working on a pinhole camera. It is complete. Let's talk a little bit about this pinhole camera. So, before I actually started working on this, I already had it in my mind how I wanted to build it. I wanted to find out if there were any sheets of film that I could purchase that could actually just outright fit in there without my having to cut a large format sheet that I already have. I already have a slew of 4x5s for the Harman Titan. So I thought, let me go out there and see if I could find a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 film sheet. And it just so happened I did. Now, this is the sheet film I had purchased. It's from Shanghai in China. It's black and white sheet, and it's got an ISO of 100 or ASA of 100. And the size is 3 1/4 and 4 1/4. Now, I'm not familiar with how this is going to shoot or photograph. I'm not familiar with how it's going to develop with Caffenol, but I thought, given the cost and everything else, and the fact that it fits into this tin and minimizes my cutting and trying to cut a 4x5 film sheet to fit in there, I thought I'd just go ahead and take a chance on this. Before I show you how to load it, or what I think is the right way and how to load it, let's talk a little bit about my pinhole camera. As I mentioned, T10. And through all my readings and internet prowling on pinhole photography, and I gotta say, it's a science. It's certainly not as easy as I thought it would be, but nevertheless, let's talk about actually the first thing I did with this tin, and that's by punching pinhole. What did I use? Well, I actually use, I think you call them a straight pin. It's from, I got it out of my sewing kit, you might say. But I took it out of the sewing kit and then calculated fundamentally where the center in relationships to this tin in order to punch. And then what I did was I just, you might say fundamentally lightly punched, not to break through, but to create a bit of a divot. And then I took sandpaper. I forgot the grit, but I took some sandpaper, and then I went inside and I sanded that divot down. And what happened is, as I sanded it down, it of course created a hole, a pinhole, as it were. My goal was, or my thought was, is to create as small of a hole as possible. Cleared it out, and that's how I created the pinhole in this tin. The pinhole, once I had the pinhole pierced, sanded down, and got a diameter on it, next thing that I did was I built the shutter. Now, as I said before, this was from a stewing stick. I cut in the radius, sanded it down, put it on there. excuse me, I kind of want to make it, I kind of want to make it look good, as it were. And as you can see, close, open, close, open. It's pretty cool, pretty simple, isn't it? I was initially thinking about just covering up with electrical tape and then peeling the tape back and holding it open that way and then taping it back up. But then I decided, nah, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to try this out. Once I got done with this and I screwed this in, then I painted the inside flat black. I painted the inside of the tin can flat black. I painted the top of the lid flat black. Then I tracked down, I knew exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to spend necessarily a lot of money in putting this thing together because I'm not really that familiar with pinhole. But the palette, I glued a base here. Now the base here is actually from a palette. Cut it down, saved what I could, cornered it in order to sit there and fit within the radius. And frankly, I think I did a terrible job of it. But what the heck, right? And then inside, I took a thread bushing and I screwed it into there, but it's got a 1/4 inch 20. The purpose for that is because I'm going to have to hold it open for, today I'm going to go 20 seconds, because I have to hold it open for 20 seconds. I needed this on a steady platform. And so I put in a 1/4 inch 20 thread bushing into here so that way I could screw it on a tripod to keep the camera steady. And that's fundamentally it. Loading it with the film is actually very simple. At least I hope it is. But if you remember from my large format presentation that I did, here's the sheet film. And you see how we have the notch right here. Remember, on these, there are notches. All right. That tells you how to load it in to your film holder when you're using a 4x57 as an example and a Harman Titan. Same thing here. It's on the right. We'll do it this way. I have it on my right, the notch. Here is the shutter. I'm going to put it all the way in the back. Now, the one thing I found about when I painted inside there with the flat black, it seems to retain the film sheet better than without the paint in there. It was like very slick, so the film kind of flip-flopped in there. So I was a little concerned about that. But nevertheless, to the right, there's the shutter in the front. You're putting it into the back, pushing it down, and making sure that it's seated into there. As you can see, it does flop. But there we go. It's seated. Take the lid, pop it into there, and now this camera is ready. For the records, though, I'm not going to use this sheet film. It was for demonstration. But it is ready to be exposed, mounted on a tripod and exposed. So that's the fundamental basic gist of it. I would suggest this is what I'm doing, and I have no idea what I'm doing, so I would suggest that you explore the internet. There is so much information out there on how to build your own pinhole camera. It's mind-boggling, really, what's out there. So having said that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up a film. Here's the darkroom bag. I'm going to load up some film. And then we're going to go out. And I want to take the first picture with my pinhole camera. I'll meet you out there. All right. I'm set up out here. And we're going to take our first, I hope to be a successful pinhole photograph with my first ever pinhole camera that I built. So, sun's directly behind me. As you can see, you can probably see the long shadow. Well, you can probably even see the shadow of the camera on me here. That's because it's way back there. I wanted the light behind me. and we're going to see what we get. So wish me luck. All right, and that's it. 20 seconds. So I'm going to take this home, and then I'm going to develop this film sheet, and I'm going to see how well it turns out, and then I'm going to share it with everybody here. So, highlights. This is the first time, today's run, this morning's run, is primarily a test run to see how well this camera does. If this camera works, or if my camera works and the film turns out good, then next week, which is the Worldwide Pinhole Photography Day, next Sunday, we'll use it again for next Sunday.